Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The current long range meta here in Warzone, after we've seen a couple of recent meta updates, is feeling pretty solid. There's a lot of variety, there's a lot of parity in the area right now, and there's several good options depending on how you feel in terms of sniping, maybe a good rifle, a good LMG here and there. You've got your choices, and today I wanted to break down the absolute best long range weapons and the best setups for those weapons. So first up here, maybe the best gun in the game for the long range, by far one of the easiest in the game to use, the XM4. We've talked about this one a lot lately. This thing is a laser beam and it melts, so you've got low recoil and you've got great range in TTK. That's the best of both worlds combination. You can't ask for anything more out of a long range weapon, right? So for scopes, it's really a matter of preference. I really like using the Willis 3 times or the Jason Armory 2 times. Other players, though, might like something else. And if you have a different scope that you find yourself to be more accurate with, always run that accuracy over everything and comfortability over everything with that. I use just the basic suppressor, keeps me off the minimap, very straightforward there. Gain twist barrel here for the better velocity, I think is clutch. This weapon's already got good range and effective damage range of 40. It doesn't drop off super severely, and we get our velocity up over 1100. So this thing's gonna feel like it hits. Even though the servers are as bad as they are, this does help make the weapon feel a lot more reliable in my opinion. And then on top of that, I go for extended mag 2, which is 60. 3, it's 100. It's overkill, but it is viable if you want to be a little bit slower but have so much more ammo. Go for it. I don't think it's the wrong answer ever. And then the most important part of the setup, in my opinion, is this buffer weight stock. Gives you max recoil control, basically horizontally and vertically. This thing's not going to move. If you're fighting at 50, 60, 70, 80 meters, like, you're set. This thing will melt. It's so laser accurate. Now, close to the XM4 is the XMG, another fantastic long range option, probably the best LMG in the game in general right now, spanning all weapons in that category from MW2, MW3, and Black Ops 6. Again, super low recoil courtesy of that buffer weight stock. Good damage, good range as well. It's a little bit slower, of course, because it's an LMG, but if you're a fan of this weapon style, I mean, it's the best choice as mentioned. So here I'm just kind of going to my alternative. Jason Armory 2 times instead of the Willis 3 times, but I'd bounce back and forth between those as I see fit. Basic suppressor yet again. In this case, I go for the reinforced barrel, some better damage range, some better velocity. We end up with the 57 meter effective damage range. 924 velo is going to get the job done just fine in pretty much any realistic engagement. Because it's an LMG and it typically has a slow reload, I actually opt for the fast mag here. It's going to speed up my ADS a little bit, which is always a win. My reload's faster, and I still have 75 rounds, which is plenty even with this faster fire rate here. So I just like the feel of that a lot. Makes it feel less like an LMG and more like a different version of the XM4. And then I do have the buffer weight stock on here yet again, just for max recoil control. This thing also is going to be a laser beam. This might be the best attachment in the game in terms of making a weapon easy to use. So where it's available, it's going to be used, and it is fantastic. Of course, the GPR is never a bad choice. This has been a top meta option since the launch of the Black Ops 6 Warzone integration. Still is low recoil, so it's super easy to use. It's also very aggressive as a rifle, very agile, and it's got a quick TTK throughout. So here again, for your optic, really a matter of preference. You can tell which ones I like already. Basic suppressor keeping me off the radar yet again. Again, I like gain twist barrel in this case, just for that better velocity. I feel like it makes the hit scan range obviously more noticeable, and just the weapon feels like it hits better. But that said, reinforced barrel as an alternative is never a bad idea, getting some better velocity and a little bit of damage range. So if you really want to focus on that, absolutely go for it. It's not a wrong answer, right? Ranger foregrip in this case, this weapon's easy enough that I don't feel like I need vertical, and then Ranger's also giving me some sprinting move speed. I really like the feel of that. Just makes an aggressive rifle even more aggressive. Then lastly, extended 2 is going to be a 60 round extended mag, so you're fine there for duos, trios, quads, obviously solos as well, so you're set across the board there. Love the feel of the GPR. Now we've got to talk some sniper metas here too, but before we do that, quick reminder, if you are new to the channel or if you happen to have not subscribed yet, every single day I got you covered with everything you need to know about COD, whether it's meta breakdowns and loadouts like this, the latest news and updates. It's all right here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. And if you enjoy this video, you find the information helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. Much love to everyone who does take the quick second to do so. Now, in terms of the sniper meta, there's a lot of good choices. One of the surprise ones and standout ones to me though is the Victus XMR. This has a fantastic one-shot range for the one-shot headshot, and it's not too terribly slow either, like what you typically see with a sniper that has longer one-shot ranges. So for an optic here, being that it's an MW2 gun, you got some different choices. I like the SPX 6.6 times. I've used this one for a couple of iterations of Warzone now, and I'm just very familiar with that. But again, go for your preference here. Spirit Fire Suppressor is just going to be one of the same suppressors that extends your velocity and your damage range. Not really anything too special about this versus the other ones. The Super Barrel will help extend your range and your velocity as well, so that's a W. I also go for high grain ammo for that same reason too. So we end up with an 86 meter one-shot headshot range. It's obviously fantastic, and almost a 1200 velocity. Also fantastic. So this thing's gonna feel really good as a long-range sniper. I do also go for the Rise 50 stock just to get some ADS speed there. It's gonna speed it up a tad bit. You can see we got a 578. That's not too terribly slow for the distance in which you're gonna be fighting with this thing. So honestly, a really good non-Black Ops 6 weapon here. Now the complete opposite of the Victus is gonna be the Kar 98K. This thing is snappy, aggressive, and has a much closer one-shot range, but still in the long-range conversation, absolutely. So once again, go for whatever optic you're comfortable with. In this case for me, it's the Antlers AS7. I kind of switch over to this. I use this a lot in MW3 Warzone, and I'm just familiar with this scope at this point. Spirit Fire Suppressor yet again for extending out that range and that velocity. We stack that with the 7.62 long barrel, also helping out range and velocity, and we stack that with high grain ammo, which helps out range and velocity, and we end up with a 904 velocity, which is going to be decent, especially for the one-shot range, which is 67 meters. So obviously way more aggressive, way more snappy. We of course have no stock on there as well, so that's going to speed up our ADS at a 322 millisecond. Way faster than the Victus, but it's meant for more aggressive gameplay, so it works really, really well. You can kind of pick your poison. Do you want that great long-range sniper? Do you want the more aggressive one? Or do you want one of the ones in between, like what we have next? Hey everyone, of course, with the holiday season coming up, you might be looking for the perfect gift this season, and look no further than Control Freak. If you need a quick stocking stuffer or an easy gift under the tree, Control Freak has you covered. Thumbsticks for all different types of controllers, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox. They've even got great support for the Switch now as well. And if you want to pick up anything at all from the Control Freak site, throw in code WhosImmortal at checkout and save yourself some money. The link for that will be down in the description below. Now, a bit of post-edit, a really different day, Zach here, because in the midst of recording and editing this long-range meta video, they did drop an update that obviously went through and adjusted weapon behavior across the board with visual noise, so recoil, sway, bob, everything like that. And then also idle sway, particularly impacting the Black Ops 6 snipers. So the newly updated setups here are a little bit different than what we were running before the update. For instance, the Frostline here, fantastic sniper, sort of a middle ground, if you will. It's got a decent one-shot range and a decent ADS speed. It's not the best in either or, but it's a nice middle ground weapon as mentioned here. So in this case, I'm going for just the basic suppressor, keeping me off the mini map, of course, very self-explanatory. Long barrel is going to give you the best one-shot range possible. So here we're looking at a 73 meter one-shot range. And then of course I also go through and I do use overpressured ammo here. That gives my velocity a stat of upwards of 1,000 there, 1,012. So that's going to be fantastic for the overall hit scan range with bullet drop and bullet lead. For what it's worth, rapid fire, unlike Resurgence, could work. It's going to hurt your velocity some, but you get those shots off faster back to back. So if you want that quick second shot, that'd be viable as well. I also go for the quick draw riser, just straight up the fastest ADS speed you can get there, and with that on there, we end up having a 465 millisecond ADS, which is decently aggressive there. And then lastly, you can kind of mess around. I like Extended Mag 1, just less time I have to spend reloading because I got a couple of extra shots in there, and it's not going to hurt your ADS or anything like that. That said, there are some stocks that are good here if you wanted really good strafe speed, if you wanted better general movement speed. The balance stock could be viable here too. There's certainly a few options there you could test around with, or if you want a different scope or something, you could always mess around with that as well. But the Frostline, a fantastic choice. And of course, the LR762 is right there as well. This one's got a slightly better one-shot range than the Frostline, but it's got a slower ADS. So you can see the obvious trade-offs, the obvious pros and cons. Better range typically means it's heavier. Faster ADS typically means it's got a lesser one-shot range. Either or, they're both great choices. All the snipers here are fantastic choices. It's just a matter of preference and feel and where exactly you want to thrive, ADS versus range and whatnot. But here, it's going to be a very similar setup. Suppressor yet again keeps me off the radar. Long barrel in this case, best damage range possible. We end up with an 85 meter one-shot range, which is fantastic, of course. Then overpressured ammo here gives us 1,058 velocity. So we are set there for pretty much any realistic sniper fight you want to take. Quick draw grip again is going to help out a ton with that ADS speed. And then once more, I go for Extended Mag 1 here. Might as well get some extra shots. You're up to a 7. Doesn't hurt your ADS like Extended 2 would, so you're all set there. But once more, if you wanted a stock for some movement, if you wanted an optic to change things up there, feel free to go through and run that. That's never a bad choice. Of course, always tweak these to your preference where you need. Another post edit, Zach here. I've sort of been tweaking my AK AK-74 class back and forth after this whole, weapon behavior update. So for the optics, still running the 2 times or the 3 times, whatever you're comfortable with there. Kind of been going back and forth on using a compensator versus a suppressor versus recoil springs. I think personally you should test out all of them and see which you find the most success with. Obviously, if you really care about staying off the map, just stick with the suppressor. Gain twist barrel on there is solid. You could also use something like the reinforced if you wanted to as well. Sort of a matter of preference. Do you really value range? Do you really value velocity? Do you want a nice middle ground of each of them? Totally up to you. Vertical foregrip for better control. Extended mag 2 on there as well for the max ammo, of course. Next up, I've got the Goblin Mark II rifle. This one is going to be a long range meta depending on your skill level, truly, because this is a semi-auto gun. It requires good accuracy and a good trigger finger so you can keep up that rate of fire. If you can max that out and stay accurate and stay on target, this thing's gonna melt, especially in its first damage range, which is a lot better than several other rifles and long range options. You are set. However, if you start to fall off because you can't keep that trigger finger up, or you're not accurate with semi-auto guns, maybe you should, opt for a different one on this list that's a bit easier to use. Higher skill gap, higher reward, as it should be, right? So here again, optic is really a matter of preference. I like to will this 3 times on a lot of my semi-auto guns though. Basic suppressor to stay off the radar. Reinforced barrel helps out with range and velocity, of course, and then that combined gives me a 54 meter effective damage range and a 920 velocity stat. Extended mag 2 is going to be a 40 round extended mag. That works fine for all squad sizes, especially considering you choose how fast you burn through that. Then here, rapid fire doesn't actually hurt your velocity or your damage or your range, hurts your control, which I don't think is a huge deal because you're going to get used to it, and you can actually get an even faster TTK because of that increased rate of fire. So definitely probably the most difficult weapon on the list here today, but also one of the most rewarding at the same time. Then lastly here, I've got the AS Val, and I was kind of debating on whether or not I wanted to include this in the long range meta because truly this thing thrives the most at like 30, 40, 50 meters. If you want to consider 50 meters long range because a lot of longer fights take place at that distance, then yes, absolutely falls in. If we're talking in 50, 60, 70, 80 meter fights, this one's going to be a little bit tricky because, well, it still has a really good TTK there. The damage per mag is a lot more noticeable over range where you do naturally miss more shots because your targets are smaller, and the DPM with this fire rate and this magazine capacity is a little rough. But that said, the weapon's easy to use. I love the feel of it, and if you're in the right range for it, it will melt. So really cool here, you actually get integrated suppressor barrels. So suppressed reinforced barrel keeps you off the map and gives you better velocity and range. That's really, really cool. And then with that on there, we get a 1000 velo, and we also get a 62 meter effective damage range. Vertical foregrip for the max control there horizontally, making the weapon feel a lot more predictable. Extended 3 is only 55 rounds, and it's got a fast fire rate. What are we looking at exactly for the RPM here? Rate of fire is 896. So you do burn through that ammo, but when that ammo is landing on a target, that enemy is dying very, very quickly. Balanced stock on here I think feels great for the better movement and everything going on, and then also recoil springs just straight up for better control. I do think if you wanted to maximize your long range efficiency, if you're always fighting at 60, 70, 80 meters, maybe swap out balanced stock for an optic like a 3 times or a 2 times or something, right? Might help out in those fights. But for a general balanced build, no pun intended with the stock here, this feels really, really good right now. And that being said, that is going to wrap things up. That's how the long range meta plays out as it stands. If you enjoyed the video, a like would be seriously appreciated. And on your way out, if you want to guarantee you are always in the know for everything going on between Black Ops 6 and Warzone, feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.